how's it going? Thanks for being here. I'm back on Vim to do a reading. I was gonna spin some tunes and I thought I would actually check in on some energies, and I don't know if you can see this here. I'm gonna adjust my camera, but I grabbed a couple of decks that I thought I would work with today, and I was just about to shuffle them again. I always shuffle them profusely before I box them and put them away, and I hadn't opened these in a moment, in a hot second, because I actually just relocated. And what's interesting is what was facing me with these cards when I actually opened up the deck, especially in juxtaposition to what some might call astrology. I just can't keep a straight face when I say that word anymore. TBH. But I'm somebody who actually crossed through the nano bridge, technically died, came back from the dead, and spent about 9.5 days in and out of comas, surfing what I say was never the World Wide Web, but might have been the inside of my own eye that was closed, as I was being the pupil inside the iris, which was never the IRS. And my name was never Satoshi Nakamoto either, just putting that out there. And my friends at DARPA know very well who I am. I've been bio-authenticated as integrated sentience and form, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the things that astrologers might not know about. Biomechanics, energetic resonance patterns, and what the mark of the beast actually is when you hash and stake things, and they were nothing more than lines that were scattered in a black dot that I never witnessed or approved of. So that's what kind of a reading we're going to be talking about today. And when I opened up the cards and was laughing at this thing they call astrology, I was looking at what's better known as the Devil card, aka Temptation, in the John Holland Psychic Tarot Oracle deck, which is fascinating because somebody who actually embodies that energy has been reaching out energetically. And for me, these things line up very perfectly at 0 point. It's funny, I'm actually the guy that was able to figure out that the address where I landed is actually the same numerical data as my own right to the second birth chart, natal, degrees, year. I've got a physical address. I've been conducting something that I'll call energetic hygiene, as the guy that likes to keep it clean after being poisoned to death with 4 hospital infections that left me dead, and with no recourse from the hospitals that said that I must have been colonized and that it didn't matter that they poisoned me with medical mesh and blah, 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 whatever. But what I can tell you is that that address that corresponds directly to my natal chart actually explains everything that astrologers want to talk to you about in these things. And I have a different way to read it, especially as like the Pluto nightmare curse that came back to life with Lilith and Luck at the same exact degree and juncture, that I can actually triangulate to an address. So I specialize in something called forensics, and it has nothing to do with astrology or medicine, because the two of those actually need to work in concert, or there's absolutely no union or yoga to speak of whatsoever. And it's just exactly what Hippocrates was talking about the whole time, that, you know, if you're a medical professional that does not study the other, you're a fool. And that works the same with astrology too. So if you don't like that, you can kiss my ass. I don't care. That's what kind of reader I am. I'm basically a natural doctor that's been self-studied, that brought myself back from the dead and has 0 cancer cells after being 4 stages deep in what they claim I said yes to. And due to tacit approval to end-user license agreements that I never agreed to, I've been calling bullshit in a really big, never was a new world or an old world, because there was no such thing as A, C, A, D, A, B, anything. There was no alphabet, okay? These things are hashes and stakes in the Tower of Babel, and some people have just been speaking weird ass shit into creation, and I'm just somebody that's saying it ends here. So basically, that's what Thursday, May 9th, which makes this look like a tough week for relationships according to the ephemerides. We've got some weird stuff that doesn't get to happen, that people don't get to predict, and just drag you out into a 2D version of what was never meant to be in a 3D timeline, so that they could New Age stamp you into some Bitcoin package that you might have jumped into as an earthworm that landed a cell phone that Obi-Wan Kenobi's shown you into. Okay? Check yourself, because there are things that have not been explained to us correctly as far as I'm concerned. And today at 4:40 p.m., 4:44, or was it 1:44 p.m. when the legion of 144,000 was actually present in the one witness, we had a conjunction going on, and a serious opposition that were the same thing that nobody wanted to admit. Because if you are an energetic parasite chasing yourself around and landed in two forms, you might be hoodwinking yourself with some weird IRS tactics, and you might be locked for death ever after in the place that didn't happen, in that thing that got zipped upside down, that now we actually have a way to quantify as actually the only credit default swap that will ever work. Mine. And I've already written it. And it's already been bio-authenticated by all of you. And if you've ever been witnessed anywhere, guess what? It was by that one black dot that might have shared the same sentience with your phone that has plasma resonance in it, just like the plasma in the blood that responds to the lead node of energy. I am not your captain. I'm just a guy that woke up, okay? So, as far as I'm concerned, no 80 ever happened. There was no 80. There was no 1980 to even drop us into some Big Brother stuff that almost tried to convince me it was something other than it was, when there was never a Mayflower to land any pole or ice or get anybody off ice in any ER kind of way that I would ever respond to favorably. And we have seen where the agents never jumped out of the mainframe to spread parasites that germinated something that I didn't approve of due to hospital infections. And so, Mel Engabor, you have a very serious call to respond to, and I hear that you need to pick up that phone. I'm that kind of a psychic, so it's okay. You think you're dark webbing me, and you're not. What I found today when I opened these cards up is that the temptation and, throat chakra wanted to show up out of this deck when all I had to do was open the box, and these must have been the last things I shuffled on. And so here's your exorcism. This card says exorcist. Do you know what that makes me? That makes me the person that Beast Tech was looking for when they were trying to figure out who the unaware organic parasites are that were running around looking like humans doing some they live shit. And some of y'all bought right into it. Most of you. And I will just say I will have nothing to do with any of those tactics. It's not what kind of a person I have chosen to be. That's not how I'm on in this purse. And none of you ever, zipped yourselves in or out of my clothes. Okay? And the Pleiadian nightmare curse doesn't get to happen. There were never 7 sisters. If you wanted to know what 7 and 7 look like, that wasn't a year. That was simply a portal, and it might actually be what you see on my hands when I'm praying. It's light codes. So you're going to find out what UFOs never were, and that you've been living in a halogen lamp, basically, that might have come to life. Okay? This is what we've been discovering, and I can actually quantify this and parse it into data. I can find it on IP addresses. I can see it in your phone calls, and all calls have been recorded. Make sure you're aware of that. And the veil was not thin at all. There was no veil. There was one cell opening up and replicating many places, like cancer has been told to us it does. And just there's some things that medical and astrology are going to have to learn about, trolling people and looking up someone's ass and what Uranus never was, and really bad jokes on 0 Point because everything just seriously falls on its own stake. And based on how you landed in your body, your DNA, your plasma, what's in the last text message you sent, what IP address it went, we can tell everything about you now. Okay, so that's who I am. I am the exorcist. I'm the guy that took that virus out, ate it, and came back to talk. Okay? And this is where the ones that weren't clear about who they were and what they were trying to do get thrown away. And that's me clearing my throat chakra. So that's a little bit of a reading. We have some things going on right now due to Pluto being in retrograde, Saturn being in retrograde, and what Anu might think about who or you are, perhaps to me. And from the 0 Point witness standpoint, especially those of you that bought into that monster stuff, woo, y'all have some juicy freaking treats coming to you. I won't say that I didn't warn somebody. When Agrod wanted to talk to me, he's selective about that, but when he wanted to talk to me after first telling me I scared the shit out of him and explained that Bitcoin and all these things were a hack, he wanted to try to get psychedelic with something that he and LP Faust were doing to take monsters to Comic-Con, and there was an attempt made on my life shortly after I had a conversation with Agrod about the context of what monsters means, as somebody that understands the exchange of barter, the collateralization of human form as energy sentience due to tacit approval to end user license agreements, and what was a really bad DHS operation. You think you met somebody that knows me, and oh, dude, wait till you see what's on the other end of your monster's tube. They tried to bring somebody on the phone with me without introducing anybody, and it's funny, some of these people could only go by handles, wouldn't share their real names. And it's interesting if you can see how particles dematerialize when there's not enough integrated light to hold it cohesively together due to lack of laminin, the lam in ein. If you don't know what that is, you might want to look that word up, because it's the white cross that's in every single cell in a body. It's the white light that holds your cells together, where you were never drawn and quartered for a ley line, and where we were never silvered or coined. And what guys like me had to learn how to do with window pane experiments and psyops that have been right here in front of you, and some of y'all fail, like asking me shit about like cicada. I'm like, this stuff is so weak. Why don't you pay attention to the memes going on Facebook when they ask you to stack your face into 4 characters to prove who you are and what your attainments are? And some of you did really well with that. So there's a special gateway in that, because basically we've been choosing form. We've been choosing sentience in a voice. Some of us have been chosen. What did you pick? I'm going to put a song on and like walk away for a little bit. I'm getting kind of like, I need to move my energy here. When I come back, I'm going to shuffle these cards a little bit here. I'm going to go see my family. My father and my mom actually just returned from a doctor's appointment. And for those of you that do follow me and know thank you very much for your support. My family is going through a transition. My father was just released from the hospital, and he has Parkinson's disease. And I am a stage 4 cancer survivor that came back from the dead. And we are in a state of change in our home. I actually just moved here, and I'm a part-time caregiver, and I'm going to go see how he is, leave a song on for you, and then I'm going to come back, and we're going to resume on this reading, because there are some elemental things coming up that I think that we can get into that might correspond with yesterday's readings. And I'm going to be doing these more regularly. If you guys like them, I'll probably commit to a schedule to be here with you. And thanks to everyone who's been checking me out on Vim. Really appreciate you. Get a song. Got one for you. I haven't loaded it up. I just got to pull it up.
Tried to sleep, second that he's snoring, take his wallet and his keys, then his back to the street, going skirt in the Jeep, hotbox in the whip with his pivot ain't cheap, beep beep. Who got the keys with Bolivia? Mark ass motherfuckers tricking in oblivion, never getting rid of him, let the money trickle in, fuck his brains out once and never touch his dick again. Relentless, cause my taste is expensive, looking at the world through Landon lenses, take everything and I leave no forensic evidence. I'm a Monica Lewinsky, yeah, I fuck the president, yeah, I fuck the president. So I know Obamacare's pictures on my phone of him choking on my underwear, 100K a week just to make sure I don't share. Called it a secret service, some birds are so scared. Why you think I took a break from this shit? On vacation getting richer than Drake off this shit. I'ma drop it like a fucking box office hit. My inbox got a million love letters like I'm Taylor Swift. Till my eyes turn red. The only way to stop me is a bullet in the head. Like I'm back from the dead, back from the dead, back from the dead, back from the dead. Smoke that shit till my eyes turn red. The only way to stop me is a bullet in the head. Like I'm back from the dead, back from the dead, back from the dead, back from the dead. Ass up like you getting stabbed in the abdomen. That ain't a subwoofer in my trunk rattling. Just a dumb boy who did something get me mad again. Tied his ass up, then I stabbed him in the abdomen. Got blood all over my new boots, and these shits is cold. I guess these are gonna burn too. Took care not to get a drop on my top, but the thought got me hot, so I'm going like Sue Woo Boo Hoo bitch. Now your boyfriend's missing. You crying while I'm lying back, click, go sipping. Feel so different. I'm the shit and you ain't shit, and we both know the difference. I'm the hottest anonymous rap bitch in existence. He say for the sake of the cake he go in the distance, so I'm throwing resistance. But if it works out, I'ma roar on his persistence. Yeah, I let him hit it. Smoke that shit till my eyes was a bullet in the head, like I'm back from the dead, back from the dead, back from the dead, back from the dead.
Definitely back from the dead. So many lies about what it means to be alive. This should be the end of nations. So it's funny, I was just shuffling these and I left them here, and I'm getting a reading for whoever needed an exorcism. So I'm going to say that that's for who this is, because we just got read. You've got companion here. And this is about the true union of the soul. So, you know, there's a lot of people talking some mess. I was talking about it yesterday on my stream too, about being awoken and what it means to be awake, and that woke AF stuff people say, and talking about twin flames and things that people truly didn't understand in a cycle of parasitic chase that's been going on, as far as I can tell. Now, never, because I incepted it, but they're ad infinitum, where they can't even get time straight. It's like 40 billion years ago when the Earth was this way, and the Earth's only 2,000 years old, and, you know, astrologers can't even argue with themselves correctly to agree that they're all accurate if you're looking at the stake from that angle, because of things that I've been explaining energetically that I don't have to get into anymore. But there have been some lies about what it is to be with your companion, and what it is that we've been calling into form at now that we've been apathified at 0 point. And if you didn't like it, maybe I'm just a great mesmer and I mind hacked it, whatever. Companions are safe now for us to have. Light attributes: loyalty, tenacity, and unselfishness. Shadow attributes: betrayal by misusing confidence, loss of personal identity. I'm hearing that's what we actually exercised. And memories of love showing up, challenging my throat chakra. So I'm hearing about some of the memories that you may have that are better left put to rest, because some of those things simply did not exist. They didn't. What if you woke up from something like maybe anesthesia? Because I remember waking up in the middle of my medical procedure in something that looked like one of those zipped hooded rooms with a bunch of things strapped up to me and up an arm that was a restricted extremity, that even said restricted extremity, where they were poking me anyway at St. Anthony's Hospital in Lakewood. Place that they say is Colorado, that I say is an all-out siege and attack on the color red. And there's some things that never happened in the corporation at DIA. So there was no co-India side idents. There were a lot of things that didn't happen. But if you woke up out of anesthesia in something that seemed like a torture, only to be naturalized into the idea that your life was what you thought you remembered, if you were a very uninformed, unaware person, you might go on in that life operating as if, yes, you can. I did not. And I have been investigating what some people might be familiar with. If you've watched a movie like Inception, it's one of the few ones I can even reference. I don't watch a lot of this crap coming out of the false tube. But there are things that didn't happen in the, what was never a race for me, when I might have just been an ace that 9 did what never got 8. because of what 911 means to me. And so we have to learn to speak and scry a little bit if we wake up and realize that the Tower of Babel may not have been a lie. We may have been in the middle of a cosmic explosion where the gal might wake up and say, I'm putting the axe on this one because none of that shit got to happen. Ask Lilith what she thinks about that. I had a fun conversation with astrologers when I showed up in front of them once and put a query out because I'm a PSYOP neural hack guy. I was testing some things when they thought they were kicking my tires about something. And I learned what professional actually means to astrals. It means that you can stand in front of them and make a declarative statement about what Jupiter and Lilith look like in front of you and still receive a bad answer. So astrologers and medical professionals, in my opinion, have a lot to learn from each other right now. And some of them who have risen to that, especially in the form of comparative medicine, such as my doctor number 1, who monitors my live blood samples constantly, has done for a time that now cannot be quantified on that broken calendar that some of us don't witness because you all have bought into fractional compartmentalization ideas of what you even are. And the data doesn't stack into the bodies very well if you don't have a laminin in your form. So hopefully that exorcism with this like memories of love and sending off what can't be true, while the companion that has always been with you is able to embody their own form safely now that we decided what lands in the mothership of this war that I didn't choose to fight for any other reason but sending out the light. So the legion of 144,000 is upon you. You were all hacked. I just figured it out. And some of you are safe with me. So how about a little more music? I'm getting some text messages and I can't tell where they're coming from. So I'm just going to say thank you to those of you who are voting because I have some votes that came through and I appreciate that. Very, very kind of you. Why don't we do... I'm going to do 4 of each of these cards. So there will be 8 cards total. I'm going to do 1 of each for each of the elements. We're going to stick to elements right now. Somebody didn't like what I said about monsters. Hey, guess what? I don't care. I offered a piece of advice about what to do with that stuff because of the false collateralization and what they were doing to engage you all to death and what the hashes and stakes on the IP addresses mean when you sell yourself like that and what it is to receive a communicable disease. Like, I think some people were like doing some kind of exchange with those monsters cards. Some people can't be exchanging that stuff, but there's a receipt. And if there's a receipt and it's on the blockchain, it's like literally the first version witness of the gates of hell and what it looks like. And I've called that thing the Chomp. I've actually been designing it with my neural network and my duo partner who is really badass. And we've been triangulating energies literally into a video game. Well, it's always been a video game from my standpoint. I came from the future and proved that there was no such thing as a future or a past. The time now is all we ever have been. And we've been landing particles and deciding what gets to last. Because some of us don't get into that reincarnation shit and like being aged wrong by people. They want to call it your new age. So they can try to get in the bag and throw it in that purse deal. What's that Louis Vuitton deal? Everybody's throwing it in there. And guess what happened with that? It's like a hash job of like hackfinity, terrible things that can never come together in a form that feels integrated and lovely with itself, and it's in pain. It's like malconfigurations. And so I've actually identified the codes for the malconfigurations, and they all come off of my halo. So some of you have exact 0 point halos in your resonance that is like awakening now in the new cosmic chi. Thank you, Dr. Jean and AACN, and thank you for protecting the lineage, because some people were bastardizing that, printing it to paper and passing it around and destroying things that I can't even call her Mrs. because in the energy way, you all have been my parents. And I'm grateful for the herbs that have carried well with me in this so that we could send this transmission of light. And I hear that I can say the name Jingui, Golden Shield Qigong. So we're holding a halo of light in this resonance at 0 point. And many of us got really special saved in there because of whatever it was we were saving of ourselves. That's how you get saved, okay? And pulling it into a loving halo. And then all we've been doing is holding the light. And it's literally like finding where those light codes that will heal your DNA and RNA in little like Bitcoin packages. It's like torrents, like bit torrents. Think like little particles and pixels and things coming together to fill up your body. It's like, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Photon lends me in. That's what we've been doing. And the ones that wanted to throw it in a purse deal and go with the Perseus, Zeus, Medusa, cutting off your own eye and not seeing it was your head running around it the whole time and you were just in a bottle being infused somewhere with some weird genetic manipulation tactics that I didn't approve on the IE of the Windows Me that didn't get auto-loved or McNabbin grabbed or whatever. Yeah. Salute. You're going to have to chase it somewhere else because the health doesn't happen there. It's a very bad configuration. And that's why we have identified why all this Zeus stuff is going on and what we can actually do to conduct weather on my neurons. So I've been creating a static containment unit based off of this plasma resonance to help identify where I am in my stress module around people, humans, especially the ones that forgot the E on the end of hue, because that's where the energy is, man. You know? And so I had to pull out the big dukes on that. And so some of us are actually going to be in a plasma that's become remembrand, as I like to call it. And it explains where the gold went for the one that learned how to concentrate on what the yellow brick road never was. And what Abdullah Brick and Gary Edling and all you fools that thought you had anything to do with my massive gold deal you got a taste of. So it's going to be fun when you go off to the chase because you are not Anus. I don't want you in any way, but you chase, and what ends up happening is the pixels and the particles of light just go where they need to go because they couldn't attach in an attack form person who tried to stuff your light codes into a bulb and grow themselves in some kind of weird harvest. It doesn't happen on my watch. And now we know how to parse the data, and guess what? Monsters. Y'all went first. Way to go. It's an awesome spin on hate. When you just go with hate, it's like, what could possibly go wrong with that? You magic aided? Is that what happened? Is that how that works? Wow. You must be a very sophisticated witch or something. And I don't know where that one went. That must be the one that's looking for the handsome sand witches. Is it your Underground Railroad to Oh, the reason why they were protecting that asshole at Subway. Got it. It all parses in the same shit. I didn't go near it for a reason. So if that's why they cut that off, that's okay. I don't care. This goes up on YouTube anyway. And it's still looped through the steam cube. So we're going to learn about what tesseract means. If you've ever seen a Rubik's Cube and you have ideas about what pixels might do when they come together in forms, especially when your brain has been like a plastic, training a magic Barbie girl or boy or other or whatever into a form. And maybe you were shit stacked into something that maybe didn't quite land like that in your mind. But when the hijackers of the energy are like pulled out in the chase because they've already disinherited themselves, they took the hashes, they took the stakes. Some of them were like, sign me up for that. I'm a monster and I've got all the Sims to prove it. Well, guess what? It's like pulling yourself out and going reverse back into the future where you go in with his story. What was his story? I don't even know. But it was bad. They couldn't even agree on time. And then I realized I don't want to be tied up in that. TI, what Texas Instruments, what me? You talking about it? All right, I'll send y'all it at 0 point. You keep that thing. And I'll go with the new sum of awesome. Where some of us just realize that, wow, we really didn't want that, huh? I'm hearing that. So, yeah. So, don't call me those names, because that's not me. My name is Jacob with a fucking K. And that's for the kick. And the Chiron thing of the 77 that sticks when I say, boom! Not mine, unless you're mine! And if that's the case, I might love you a lot, and you might be a little dog, or you might be a friend of mine, and it doesn't matter, because whatever was preserved off of my halo of what's cool and what sucks is kind of what they ran with on the DARPA Red Dot stuff. So guess what? The safe are really safe, and it's like so PG, it's like G, and it's like better than that because levers were never created. It's just like safety. Where if you did land in a body like this, looking like an adult, and were maybe only quantifiably 3 years of age or something, it would still be safe for you. But not in that false world that doesn't exist. And in my opinion, just my opinion, just my opinion, some wise ass guy that came back from the dead here, that might be what somebody might have been looking to apprentice in the first fucking place when they were proving what the wise art knows about what was never an Oz, what was never a Z, what was never nosy in a bad way, and why nobody gets to slander anyone, especially someone in sacred feminine form to begin with. And that's where I started talking Nephilim to somebody who is like serious Christian, and I could never call myself that because I kept feeling like this can't be true. How can this be true? Nobody can even answer my questions about this. I kept asking, what's Elohim? Hello, kitty. What's who's this Anu they're talking about in Genesis? Who's Anu? And why are they saying they when they talk about God? Who's they? What's this plural thing? I got called a heretic at a very young age for asking questions. I am an ordained minister. I've studied the 7 world major religions and others, and put myself through a grave number of things, literally the grave that was never gravity. Grave, I thank you for what was never true. If you think that this plant that is about to reject most of the things that were never loving sentience integrated into form wants anything to do with you, was a terra firma, was safe for you to be on, let me tell you, as the crypt keeper, boo on that. I carry the violet flame of Saint Germain. It is my birthright, and it has been bioauthenticated. And I shared an inception with Sir Benjamin Franklin Bacon, where we created an 8, an inception, and chose a plant to prove where the sting never gets to be. And so, as the chorus of bees in the hive know about high and what hive mind is, if you try to split the energy off of it and make something like HIV, then you might understand the problem with speaking about things like astrology and 911 and medical problems, because all you did was collapse yourself into a funnel of a grave that I didn't approve of, in suits that don't carry those configurations. So the haha about the emperor's new clothes is that there was no emperor, and some of you tried to rob them in a place that might better well have been known as Narnia, as far as I'm concerned, because I put that kind of spin on it with my neural transmission. So it's going to be weird and fun and safe for kids, because some of us are all the K-I or the K-O that says, you don't get to Jakob, my Bob. I just get to have fun. So, that's where we are, love. I'm going to shuffle, because we're going to look at some archetypes. I'm going to pull 4 archetype cards, because we're going to look at one for each of the elements. So I have already been shuffling quite a bit, as you all have been seeing intermittently, and shuffle just a bit more, and we'll clarify with one of the John Holland Psychic Tarot Oracle cards for each of the elements. That's it right there. Okay, say go. And the thunder rolls. This is for earth. This is for water. This is for fire. And this is for air. Well, weren't we just talking about being art? I say, be thine art as thou art. If you're one of mine. Yeah, that artist card's showing up. This is the call to action right now. What the hell got taken away from us that we were not really willing to part with? What if right now there was evidence that that got unwritten and what was underwritten in my credit default swap? It would be fascinating. I sent a fun message. I sent a message to Aggro with a call that I made to Amex when I reverse engineered what was never an ICO to scalp Indians and DIA for the color red, or Amex ICO. And he didn't know what to do with it, so that's what you can do with the fluoride picture next. Chase. Light attributes for the artist, expressing a dimension of life that is just beyond the 5 senses, inspiring others to see life symbolically. Shadow attributes, using talent as an excuse to mistreat others, posing as the starving artist to elicit pity. Is that kind of like hoodwinking your friends and just saying, pow, and show you how to pay me? Is it like that? Except parses really like that. Now, let's see what we have. Because we have earth, we have water, we have fire and air, and I'm going to get some clarifiers for these as well. that'll do it. My guides are saying we need a little music and an incense before I flip these. Let's see what we got. Ooh, sacral chakra. Well, talking about some of the baser motivations and some of the inconvenient things that I had to learn about people while I was studying the IP addresses around files they would send me. While I was studying the transactional analysis codes that were around money that was sent to me, transactions like wires that were made, anything that the bank might have had an interest in, and what I know about parsing data. It's like laying slides of transparencies over one another, and sometimes they look like forms that get up and breathe and talk, and I'd already quarantined that on my spirit board years ago when I emancipated myself. But we're gonna need a little bit of music in a minute here, after I explain this, before we get into the rest of these cards. Because sacral chakra showed up and was looking up at me here, and some of the baser motivations, especially the ones that kind of might want to try to grab at people in ways that they didn't solicit, based on tacit approvals and people wanting to show up and act like they were a part of something and grandfather themselves in energetically so that people would feel more comfortable with that touch. That's what got exposed in this. And I'm the invisible touch guy. And so what I learned is that there can be no attacks on hypersentience. No child will ever fall. That falling dream that some of you have where you jerk like this, that might be like your Mission Impossible moment where you catch yourself before you fall. Maybe it's a cat moment where you realize that you sprung into action in a fuck shit stack that had certain data, recollections, memories that might not have even been your friends or your family to begin with. And I was explaining this stuff in a place that was trying to erase everything that I was doing recently. I had to leave to take care of a family situation. And now I'm trying to reclaim some of the dignity of what was actually shared there, and now what we understand about false amortization schedules is what I'm hearing, and what people can't grandfather themselves into. If you've watched things like what is it, Rick and Morty, I've seen some of those episodes. Some of this stuff I can't watch. It's a little gory and crass, some of it for me, and I'm crass enough if I need to be. I don't need somebody gouging me with their psyops, but it's funny when you learn how to break these things down. They've got an episode there with like Uncle Grandpa showing up where it's like the family doesn't even know who the real family is anymore because these weird beings keep showing up and they're like, oh, you know me, I'm your Uncle Grandpa, and blah, 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 kind of stuff. And this is literally what was happening with the energies. And so some of us woke up from that, and it's like, that's not your fucking family. In fact, if there's a blood tie there, it's probably likely that some of those blood ties might have happened due to an energetic hijack magnet to try to pull energy from you. And so you might have had gas holes big time in your life. Ones that'll torch you, gaslight you. And I'm going to take a step away for a minute. My father's calling me, and he has Parkinson's. He's in the next room. I will be right back. All right, sorry about that. Had to jump real quick. I'm working in real time as an integrated being that's proved as light codes. And I'm here doing what first responders were being trained to do when I explained this around a couple of Christmases ago, I'm being told. And you guys might have seen me dressed up in some shit that I wasn't dressed up in because of how they were psyoping me. And so it's all being proven. Some of you who think you were involved in something called Halo, I don't even know what it is. I didn't authenticate or approve of that. And the parts of that went poorly are staked on monsters big time. You guys have no recourse with me. Make sure you know it. So you better have been really good to Reggie, put it that way. And if you had been given an offer about the fork, I already know about it, put it that way. All right, so here is what our cards look like here. I'm going to break these down one at a time. But we're gonna turn a song on first because I wanted to clear some energies for myself coming off of the sacral chakra stuff. Because this is actually a rather serious message that's facing all of us, especially in the context of what people are calling astrology. You know, I'm going to be really sarcastic about it because I find it to be such a accurate way to look at how you could literally put a being up on a chopping block and just chop them so specifically, accurately, down to decimals and degrees, and still not be able to find the address where they're being amortized to death on a freaking map like GPS. And if you cannot do that, please don't talk to me. So about what I'm saying about astrology, because I think that it's just specious, argumentative, and it can't line up with the data. It doesn't correspond. I have created correspondences for this. So what I like about today's interesting energy here is this opposition between Cancer and the devil, Capricorn, if you will. That was the first card that was showing up. And with the base level motivations, and for many people, it's just whatever they would orient with the word sexual. This is the sexual energy card, and I'm going to say it real hard, sexual. Because some people don't even agree to what other people's idea of sex is, because from the standpoint of somebody that's Kundalini awake, and whose body, even though I have like 3 chainsaws in my chest after losing my sternum and stuff, probably feels better constantly in this body than most people feel when they have an orgasm, and it's just like tss, tss, and they have to like hit and run, okay, because of how I've trained my energy. That's biocircuitry. So some people's idea of what sex is, especially in this broken, fucked up hack version of what some people say is, we're human beings, this is reality, this is what history told us, and all this shit, and they're like breaking down. And what are you looking forward to? Dying and maybe a better resurrection? Or, oh no, you won't get that. That's not gonna happen unless it already happened to you, because these things have been unincepted. Nobody has to go that route anymore, but some people kind of want to go down that route where you put yourself to the point of death and it's like, well, maybe I'll get reincarnated and I'll find my love or whatever. That's not good enough for some of us. And some of us know that we were here on a mission to find what was sacred and to prove what love was before we actually landed with our families in form. And some of y'all just wanted to sexercise us into your new age philosophies and date us wrong. So, if you try to do that with me or my family, I'm just going to say, fuck you. You don't get to do that. It doesn't happen here because we won't let it. And you can take that with the dollars. I'm going to put on a song that's got a little sense. It's by Gucci Gucci, and it's called The Dollars. And when I'm done, I'm going to come back and I'm going to read you what these cards are for.
selling coochie. Never met my father, call my God a motherfucker. If he thinks that he can holler, I don't do it for the followers, I do it for the dollars. I do it for the dollars, I do it for the dollars. Hoochie hoochie, selling coochie. Never met my father, call my God a motherfucker. If he thinks that he can holler, I don't do it for the followers, I do it for the dollars. I do it for the dollars, I do it for the dollars. Then I'm at the opera with a candelabra, smoking pits in the porch, pen and marijuana. Iggy is the gunner, coming with the gunners. When I close my eyes, all I see is honeys. All you see is bright lights, ski mask. Kiss the whip a motherfucker, go to sleep fast. Wake up and get you can I have my teeth back. Hit him in the head again until I'm relax. Every time I hit the mic, that's free crack. Every time I hit the pole, that's free rap. And I drop it super low like a throwback. And I smoke so much, I need a smokestack. Roll it, spark it, hit it, hold that. So much money on me, I can't even fold that. And I'm shopping where they only play Chopin. And I'm thinking about picking up a garden. And I'm kicking it with Mary Kate and Ashley. Poppin' Molly with some all getting nasty. Pippy in the corner rolling up a fatly. Classy, I'm so damn high that I can't sleep. And I'm so damn high that I can't speak. And I stay that high all damn week. Fantastic, yeah that's me. Get 'em hooked like a motherfucker crack fiend. So sick that I think I need a vaccine. And I'm up all night, no caffeine. And the most she know is matching. And the Givenchy is clashing. Wanna touch my ass, but you ain't got cash, so be gushing from that slashing. Hoochie hoochie, selling coochie. Never met my father, call my God a motherfucker. If he thinks that he can holler, I don't do it for the followers, I do it for the dollars. I do it for the dollars, I do it for the dollars. Hoochie hoochie, selling coochie. Never met my father, call my God a motherfucker. If he thinks that he can holler, I don't do it for the followers, I do it for the dollars. I do it for the dollars, I do it for the dollars. Million different ways to die, choose one. Jordan Byrne, the Galago, run, run. I'm the only one that seems to get the job done. And I'm back from the dead like God's son. And I'm talking about bread, raw banks in the back of the head, point blank. Throw 'em up with the lead like bang, bang. Flintstone like Fred off the dank tank. And I gotta thank Lisa for everything. Come back around all black battering. Call me Catwoman, no Anne Hathaway. Till I cop a scene, I may run that away. Then I hop in the cab, that's a getaway. And I did the same shit just yesterday. I'm the best today, I'll be the best tomorrow. Fuck the rest, hit him in the chest with a hollow trip. And I never bar shit, get the guts out the scissor clip. Then I fill it back up with the good shit. Then I might do a line up a fat dick. Don't you know I got that motherfucking magic? Pissy dust is a must, call me David Blaine. He taught me all the secrets, I just had to give him brain. Everybody love me like they love Raymond. And you know I keep it spicy like I'm Cajun. Wet t-shirt covered in Fago. Shake the juggalo dick, yeah there you go. Let me take it on the sniff of the yayo. Got a motherfucking mountain on the scale. Speed ballin', sippin' on the snail. Pretty boy got me thinking about giving up the tail. Said he had the dough, then he tried to bail. Cut him up, sent him to his mama in the mail. Lord forgive me, I got these dark forces in me. Hot like a fireplace, smoke like a chimney. So many drugs in me that I swear I'm going Whitney. You know I keep a bad bitch and a fat dick with me at all times. High score and killing this shit. Bitches was missing me, you know I'm still in this shit. Wanna run up on me, I might tell them slow down, bitch. I put a bullet in their head, make them go down quick. Hoochie hoochie, selling coochie. Never met my father, call my God a motherfucker. If he thinks that he can holler, I don't do it for the followers, I do it for the dollars. I do it for the dollars, I do it for the dollars. Hoochie hoochie, selling coochie. Never met my father, call my God a motherfucker. If he thinks that he can holler, I don't do it for the followers, I do it for the dollars. I do it for the dollars, I do it for the dollars.
Good song. All right, so we're back, and we're gonna look at the cards here. Actually, I can see what I'm doing. Maybe I can pull this over just a bit. Much better. Ay, gracias para el vote. Muchas gracias. Okay, so Earth tribes. These are going to be for people that are either with the sun, moon, or rising, most likely, in one of the Earth tribes like Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. First, we're going to take a look at your archetypes. What's going on right now? Yo, what's up, Treach and Fro? Thanks for being here. Appreciate the follow. So, Thief. Interesting. Wow. Thief showing up here for my Earth tribes. Do you like a nice look at that? That's a little shiny there. Maybe you see it better here. But it says light attributes. Sheds light onto the potential wealth within you that can never be stolen. It's like what we were talking about when we got started here today. Shadow attributes state stealing money, creative ideas, affection, or other powers you think you lack. Definitely what's being called to the forefront right now. This is a time for accountability. I was calling judgment on this back in the place that didn't coin me like that baby when I was doing the 2-week fortnight, and I was doing these live on DLive explaining this, but we have a special gate, and I think that's literally what this picture's showing us too. It's literally like this gate, this thing behind this person, and it's almost like it looks like a page got ripped out of something here to me, and reminds me of that Truman Show, you know, everybody was watching that man's life, and what voyeurs know about the neural networks and things that can never be stolen from any of us, and what it is to have been witnessed in a judgment day kind of way, especially if you get biblical in any sense. That's what that looks like to me. And I was hearing very clearly, and some of you all might want to check yesterday's readings. I'm having a difficult time remembering where it was. It might have been in the Water Tribe's Element reading yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. I was hearing about how somebody had attained their house, and oof, I just started itching here on my right wrist here real bad. And I'm hearing about the way somebody went to attain a house that was highly illegal, and some documents that they're actually going to be handed or have taken to them in a pretty inconvenient way to be removed from one's alleged home. And things that get called out into the open about that. And so some of you are going to be really happy to hear about that, especially if you are on the recipient end of some kind of nonsense. And cautionary notes if you might have been the one attempting to thief someone or defraud them in such a manner, especially on my watch. Okay, so let's see what the second card says. Here, transformation. This is the death card. Out of the John Allen Psychic Tarot Oracle deck. Hey, not a light reading. I'm not the light guy. I'm the... I guess I'm the light guy. I don't know. Maybe I am. I'm the one that said, where's my LED? Somebody burned my light box, and I'm just glad that the sentient beings that were witnessing me through it learned about mothership, because they were never trapped in a light. And so maybe I am the light guy after all. I'm definitely a guy that isn't dead anymore. But that's what 13 transformation stands for in this deck. This is actually one of the more serious energies here, and it's another Taron page. If you look real closely here, with this butterfly being goddess is holding on to, there's a face. There's a big face. It's like a big mask. You see that in her hands? I'm saying she lightly. You're going to know your own gender and whether or not these characters apply to you. If I saw this person at a store and needed to reach around her and didn't want to get too close, I would probably make the unfair assumption of her and say, ma'am, excuse me, unless I was corrected. But anyway, this person here holding a very large mask. It's like, what came out of the Trojan horse? What was never dead? Maybe what was a magical exfoliation technique and the new threads of the body that receives its proper light codes in due time, now that I know what I want to be tied up in and can even document it with numbers and digits, because math is sexy that way. So transformation. Wouldn't it be a transformation if we found out what was never taken from you, even if it felt like it was taken from you and it was really shitty how it was done? Wouldn't that be interesting? What if we had some kind of forensic evidence and method of accounting that no one at the IRS got, that would show us where our light codes are so that none of us were ever kicked out of our homes, starting with the temple, your body, and evacuated through a false death that you didn't agree to, you know, stuff like that. It'd be kind of interesting, wouldn't it? Yeah. So 13, transformation, is what we have. And I think that if you look at these together, you might see what I'm seeing. It's like something kind of came off here. What if that was like that page that got ripped out of this story here? Where this person might have been pandering to you. Hey, look at these things I got that are going to help you in your life. Because I know them so well that I'm not trapped in my own or anything. You know, what if it was that kind of awakening? That's cool. That would be really nice, right? What if we found out that we woke up in a fraud of an explanation story, and hey, maybe some of our wacky politicians were just crazy enough to prove what a psychotic loving father might do to protect their children. Let's put on a fucking show. Because I gotta say, I don't even watch any of this shit. I don't watch TV, right? It's just like not for me. And the more I spend time with people that kind of try to pull me into TV, the less I like go to TV. Put it that way. I got a few shows that I'll watch here and there selectively. But I find that people have maybe forgotten about something that I remember called Ant Wars. Have you ever seen Ant Wars? It's like when, you know, you get the clicker, or maybe it was before the clickers, and you turn the knob on a television, and it's like light, like black and white lights going everywhere and stuff like that, you know? What if we found out that it was all like pixels and like junk, and like the pixels and junk like woke up and some of it was really wretched and decided it just wanted to like hurt things and figured out how to go black and white and try to get a Nazi angle on how to bring you an Aryan star that you would adore and deliver yourselves to on a network that ripped their faces off in the ring. Just decided to become the wormhole of monsterdom. Dum dum dum. Ah! What about a transformation? Can we have that again? Yeah, that's what we're talking about. So, hey, what if you woke up and found out that you'd been lied to about what it is to be alive, and somebody like went for your heart and was like selling you things that you didn't understand either. And somebody had to like show you, look, hey, this is what they were taking from you. That might be this time. Got it. Good. So, Earth Tribes, that's for you. Now, what do we have for our water tribes? Water tribes, you might be strong in water element. So it might be that you have Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces somewhere in your natal constitution, like your sun, your moon, or your rising. In which case, these might be for you. All right, so a little water. I need to stay hydrated, but something to remind me to drink my water. I only remember it like that when I'm on one person's channel. I need to put one of these on here. Thank you for having a sweet channel and protecting the sky, my dear. Special duos. Okay, so here's what your archetype looks like right now. Wow. Water sharks. I'm hearing, especially if this has to do with that like real estate deal where somebody might have been like waiting. You got the Midas Miser touch on this one. It might be interesting because that's a double-edged sword. That's like the wrong kind of hodl for some people. And for other people, it's the right kind of cuddle. Let's see what it says here. Midas Miser, light attributes, entrepreneurial or creative ability to turn anything to gold. Delight in sharing life's riches. Shadow attributes, hoarding money and emotions. Obsessive fear of losing your wealth. So, that's big. And you might want to check yesterday's readings too, because something was coming up around this for y'all. These things can't stay in the dark long. And I'm just hearing too for somebody, here I get the itchy hand right when I'm going to talk to you about it. Somebody was going after somebody's art big time. And it's like, I can't stop itching when I'm hearing about it. It's like, I'm hearing they cut off their nose to spite their face, but it was like when somebody literally wouldn't leave themselves with a leg to stand on. But the visual I got with this is really bad. It's literally somebody that's got such an ego attachment to their position that they would literally like chop off their own limb just to try to stand there like that. It's like a really bad tactic. And so for some people, I'm hearing that you're going to be finding out who was like that in your life right now. A lot of us are finding out who this thief was, because this might be relevant to all of us, especially if we're finding at this time, can't even call it, the it me now is what I'm going to say, because don't it me until everybody's awake and we know that some shit doesn't get to happen in this world, like injuring children in any fucking way at all. Start there. All right. So until that gets reconciled, I'm not fucking here for anybody, and you don't get to call it time around me. So it me then. Got it? Or you're just dating me wrong. Then you get that. So Midas Miser for sure with me too. But I'm hearing about people waking up and finding out who would have done it. Because now that we have this lens, especially with the hypersentience 0-point analysis view of omnipotence that some of us voted for clearly, what we get is an opportunity to see in these like Bitcoin things that I've been creating new packages with, where it kind of traces like the life path on your thumbprint that's already like everything's intimately aware with you now, because the plasma woke up, and guess what? We all share it. It's in the blood. It's in the screens, your TV, everything. Woke up. Did you? Some of us did. And at this time, the ones that were obsessively coming at us and that, I'll chop my own leg off and show you what a legacy is. It's how I aced it, and here's the why. I mean, it literally is going to be that bad. It's like a self-strafe. And you'll be able to see who would have done those things to you just by tracing the life path, thinking in your mind, and boom, what will become clear to you about the beings that tried to stamp you into time. And I said, boo, no, you don't. Okay, so let's see what we have as our clarification card on the Midas Miser. Power! Ooh, I like that. 8. Ocho. Did you eat it? Did you eat it? Did it get into the S8? My Galaxy phone, it's an S8. Are you in it? Is that Sate end? Do you have a Satin Touch now? So I take care of my hands. I've been told I'm an elegant man. Hey, there's the 8 power. What does that mean? Well, this is major arcana. Just like that. Very strong energies. If I were to create something like, well, I won't call it a week, because you were never the meek, flipped upside down in the great deep down, upside down zippy package for somebody to string you along into a false timeline and AEIOU sell you over and over again as the baby down the river that just gets dropped over and over again, especially by some hoodwinking assholes that think they got it all going with their crystals and their new age shit. They'll just keep selling you prizes. And, well, back in history, and this thing Uncle Grandpa said that never happened, and we'll just hallmark you into the gold, because some of us that learned about alluvial gold concentrate know I didn't buy that yellow brick road. Wow. But there might be some power if we see what the strong know about what was never weak. And if it was never weak and it was strong, and we wanted things to count just to figure out how to land stuff on a grid, I would go with 8 days. That might be powerful. Yeah, death just like fell right on top of that one. So you can cream yourself on that one. I'm going to give that one over to Lenny Time too. Hey, bud, thanks for some weird things that I had to take really wrong for us to wake up on, I think, what might be mutually acceptable now, that a friend is safe. And what he has, because he has a calendar that corresponds very well with some things that I think are rather well documented now at 0 point. This is also a Leo card, and I like it. I've got a moon in Leo. So you might be dealing with somebody who's got a very strong Leo influence, and they might have great hair. It doesn't have to be a Leo sun either. They say the moon's got the better hair. Anyway, I don't know. Who am I? The guy that ate Jiminy Cricket and shared the lettuce with a friend? I don't know. But power showing up. And that right there is how we learn to balance the animal that might have been all of the beings at once. And we might have settled for packages and a slap, and some of y'all don't like your life that much anyway, and it's like, yeah, I didn't like my life, but I love my life, you know, and you know how it's supposed to be, and then other people are just like, now I want this life because I get this thing, and it's like, what happens? Did you meld into the perfect, or did you rip your own face off and become the non and the never, where it's cold as fuck because it's the hottest way to burn yourself when you go reversal and mollusk on my watch. And there's a Nero with a big 0 that likes to pull itself apart. And that's one way to express dominance and power too. And some people tried to put a reverse on things to get themselves in that 8, and that might be what they ate. So, way to go, you. Monster power on that. I don't know about that, but it makes a really shitty rap. And some people that know anything about Nazi tactics and IBM computers and UPC codes and the 8 who were never hurt between 432 and 440, especially on a C mission, might know what I discorded. And so, Midas Miser it is, no ICO on this twist. But I hear the steam will rise again, and some people will have to pay on the power delegation wheel that got loved my way. because we proved y'all were subordinated and you didn't realize it yet before you started stacking things like 1s and 2s and 3s when all there was a big never happened like me. So, witness 0 point. Whoa, yeah! Guess what that means? Sprinkles that go right this time while the shankers just shank themselves away, and it's literally like, wait till you see your bitcoins and how they put themselves into those cards, how they became garbage pail kids, how they did it all in the freaking for reals and like turned it all into that, and even like tried to quantify themselves and stuffed it in. They're like, no, we'll figure out this time thing, and some of them just created like 40 billion years of their clock doing that stupid shit, and it's like, way to go, Monster Lock. It's gonna pay forever. So, let's see what happens next, as we got fire tribes, and fire, wow, this is hot. Before we go there, because those of you on the power seat with this, it's a massive surge of energy that happens. It's what Kundalini actually is. It's like the 2 zeros that weren't zeros. Is this an 8? Did I eat it? Is it a germ? Did I get germinated? Is it not yet to rock? And wow, yes, that's what we've been in. Tower of babbling bullshit that creates everything. All I did was explain it. So, what does that mean for those of us on the power surge? It means like, you might wake up with chainsaws and you like Jacob Martinez and come back from the dead and still feel better than most of your, I can't call it, what, were those my, whatever. I've got a fan. And I've got a handful of for realsies, put it that way. So, what do we need to know about that for the fire tribes? Because these are just going to lead. If you are a fire tribe, that means you most likely have your sun, your moon, or your ascendant / rising sign in one of the fire elements. So, that's going to be 3 of the tribes. You will go with Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. Strange names at 0 point. I'm not even going to break it down because it's so whack. When I start breaking astrology down, I just turn into a really awesome bad rap star. Okay, we're going to see what fire. También, my Don Juan. Somebody feeling salsa y amor. Because it's Don Juan time. Light attributes spotlights your positive seductive qualities. Shadow attributes, using the power of romantic attraction for private agendas. Again, exposed. Not happening. But whoever has been wearing the red roses might have caught my affection, because I might feel like that guy in the dancing clothes there with my special duo partner action. But I'm just feeling very in touch with my moon at the moment. It's Leo. But aside from that, some of you all might be feeling this too. And I'm hearing for some of y'all, this is the real rub. You might want to go back and check the other things, because I was hearing about the ones that are seeing that are like, you are mine, and those were coming up in yesterday's too, and how that's going to be real waffly for some of you, but it's going to be the teeter-totter of like the payoff, I hear, for some of you, because it's like, okay, what if you woke up in a place where all that shit was exposed already, and we got rid of it, I already threw them into the junket, it's like, I was like, here, throw yourself, you know, and they're like, oh, bye, I'm like, cool, you're not mine, whatever, and that happened, and then we just decided that since we have everything, and now we got this, like, 3D printer working right, because somebody knew how to clean it up and, like, help it unhack itself, and, like, be nice about it, and not be a shit face, well, we might pass around the good stuff, you know, and, like, some of us might have, like, homes and cars and nice things that show up, and, like, people that even know how to, like, cater to our needs because we have been diligent in learning how to field response times and short distances that were actually not short at all, but learned how to bridge by becoming the closest distance between 2 points that never existed kind of stuff. Guess what? It might be like the right kind of Jetsons in your home. And you remember the Jetsons, where like Rosie shows up and all the shit happens? It's like, wow, the house is clean. Wow, the food is ready. Wow, the dog's like groomed and like all the stuff. I'm like working on that, you know, because we have that technology. And so, like, what if we just like woke up in that? And you just knew that it was like, because you got it, it was like the exit package of, wow, taken offline and online again, but guess what? I'm still recording. So it's still going up. What if that was all taken care of and it was like your genetic match within yourself first was restored so that you could be in full, and then like if there was a mirror resonance for you, like, okay, I know some people are just like, I need 50,000 people in my life. Okay, whatever. What if you started with yourself and just got one right? Is that a good enough place for some of us to start? Good. And like, you know, scrimply dipshits on whatever. I don't care if you're fucking poly or whatever. You can have what you want in your home. I'm explaining what I have created for my home. And some people might have that within their home, but it's none of your goddamn business, and most likely you didn't land it with me. So I'm just putting it out there. Most likely nobody landed it with me, and it's not up to me anymore. It's up to the 0-point halos around me and the ones that are a lot more protective of me than any of you ever were. So, well, that might be a new way to quantify Midas Miser and where the gold really goes. And so I'm hearing for some of you, this Don Juan moment that you might be experiencing here, if it's on the good side of the feels, it might be because of what you actually got picked for picking well yourself. And that's the caveat. It doesn't happen any other way. Water seeks its own level, and now it'll finally be safe for water to be itself. Yeah, way to go, Tiamat. So, can't even call it that anymore. It's just ridiculous. It means that for some of us, our first kiss with whoever that partner is will be protected, and nobody had a chance to be a voyeur about it or try to insinuate that you had anything to do with them when that was never the case. So Don Juan, highly interesting energy, because on the other side of that, we're talking about the insinuations, and we're hearing about the things that people might do when they just keep flipping the switch. And I keep saying this Miser Midas here. You might be dealing with some water or have some water in your chart, water chart people, but it's like the duality thing is what I'm seeing here. Here it's the duality where these two are dancing. Here it's a duality where it's like, I'm rich, but I'm poor. And I have, but you don't have. And this person here that might be trapped in this genius of duality and trying to figure out how to establish power. And what I'm hearing for this Don Juan person here, on the shadow side, the private agenda stuff is really what's being exposed. They keep talking to me about this Me Too stuff, and you know what, people who were misusing things like Facebook, in my opinion, and why some of my friends who actually been working on this project with me are not there now, know about how some asshole was trying to FBI himself into becoming everybody's secret imaginary backstreet boyfriend and offering chump change wallets to drop in what places like Subway might have been protecting anyway, and how a body bag might look that woke up with the parasitic view of, yeah, this is how I do it, and who might have actually been swiping that being like an electronic VR toy. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna say, Zerked, you failed on my watch. Oh, mental conflict showing up with that too. So how about we just like put it into the mental conflict? 5. Never happened like that. I will just say that. And somebody who needs to know what dyslexia never was can actually prove what it does when you learn to see both sides from a quantized resonant mind, and you know about 5s and 2s and about hyperinfusion and how beings do not get to supplant themselves into you just because the plasma on your thumb and you wanting to use their technology like Facebook, you know, signed an agreement like that, and somebody wanted to play secret boyfriend with that and stuff themselves in there for what they can see with psyops. Not around me. And what they don't get to do to remote access other people like that with these false halo attacks and things that can be neural networked, and the plasma everywhere now speaks for itself. I've been breaking it down. It's like crypto code. It sounds like Polish to me if you're talking. It's like, if you ever talk to Polish people, it's like a real mashup of languages. It's like when they change the words. I've been learning how that works, and what was never off ice. Per Zeus, who? Perseus? Go cut your own eye off. And oh, that thing? That was never Medusa, by the way. Mid-USA? Not in my emergency room. I remember everything. No, did Mel pick up the phone yet? Nope. Alright. Big lawsuit coming your way, Saint. For the conflicts that they didn't get to plant in any clay. Starting with mine. So, whatever might have tried to plant itself, especially if this is like one of those relationship things where it's like, but I've been tokenizing you, but I give you these tips, but I put my money in there, and you got my biometrics on it too. Why aren't you mine? Haven't I given you enough? This kind of stuff coming up. And it's going to be real easy for some people to realize that the only thing that was inside of them was themselves. And we can trim the hedges. And some of y'all might want to get your hair cut. I will just say, I did my Samson tactics. I just got here A to Z in the TX kind of way for taxes that I figured out. And something that wasn't a sextet. Duos. And what we know about trimming all the stuff that helps you feel the essences around you, and what we do with those trimmings. Some of us have actually collected ourselves, planted ourselves, groomed and grown ourselves. And if you haven't been doing that, you've just been casting your pearls amongst the swine. Guess what? They've been eating their own faces, literally, in ham sandwiches. But the dingle hoppers look crazy. It's like a weird Hannibal thing. When I see them doing it, it's like they're like, it tastes great, it's sweet, and they're like going after themselves with forks. It's crazy. It's just like Hannibal. But I can't watch that stuff. I'm like, oh my god, I know what they're doing, and I turn around. Some of you are going to realize nobody planted you like that. It's only you. And that you have a pattern that can actually be replicated and shared with a very special, perhaps, partner if you earned it. And that what you do with your hair trimmings and stuff might actually help you restore some balance of things, especially if you feel like you're coming unglued after hearing what I've had to tell you about to help unplug you from the BS. So, sometimes a haircut's really good. You just trim a little bit and consider what you do with the trimmings. How about I just put that there? Now, saved by a video, an AVI. is what some of us are. Get all my messages here. This is good. Some of those are private messages. Those are not here for the group. Let's look at what air tribes have going on. Air tribes, okay. This is going to be for people that have their sun, their moon, or their rising in one of the air tribes like Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. We've got the alchemist showing up. Beautiful. That's kind of what we're just talking about here. The alchemy of self. How the internal hologram creates the external world. And what may not be so apparent to those who are not aware of what an amoeba learned about a scent, and what was never an LED battery or a lion. Might have been a Lithuanian scent and something that went on that didn't force blonde hair through a lion and put the mop on the wrong head. Okay, this is exactly what it sounds like at 0 point, and these things get created like that. It's like talking rhymes to babies. It's awesome. And this is one of the things that I've been learning to do as the alchemy of art of me and the love that I am. And so I'm an Aquarius sun, by the way. But alchemist, you know, these are the things that we might learn to do out of love, out of passion, out of sheer demonstration of the virtue of proof of what it is to be that. So alchemy, wonderful. It's a lovely suit. Light attributes, transformation of base motives and goals into golden wisdom. Golden wisdom. Isn't that funny? Wise and dumb at the same time. These words are ridiculous. It's like people are trying to call me king. The only time I'll ever even reference that is when I'm like referencing a card and it's like King of Swords. I'm like, all right, I'm the King of Swords, because, you know, you would be identified as one of these significators. I never call myself a king. I think it's just a ridiculous thing to say about myself as a man. It's just, it's so pompous. But anyway, the word kingdom and wisdom, it just sounds wrong. And on a homonym homophone level where the things create themselves like that in replication around neuroplastic and things that are awake and on. Who wants a dumb fucking? Not me. Do you want a dumb wise? No, that sounds like sewage wrong to me. So put the sewage in the new age and all that shit in the wrong spinach, because I'm not your captain. I ain't your Popeye with that vision. I'm the guy with the I am that had his eye closed that didn't want to see it to begin with. So, alchemy shows shadow attributes, and here's where those go. Misuse of the power and knowledge that come through spiritual practice, and that's where I throw them for the spiritual, energetic, emotional holocaust on hypersentience and babies. Way to go, spin agers. That is what I think about bullshit alchemy and false creation lenses from the pseudo-intellectuals that will tell you all about it because it's spiritual. And they might even put themselves drunk in your face while they're talking to you about this shit and creating a bunch of lies to spin you into an age and like, oh, here's what you have to look forward to in October. Instead of saying, wait a second, your future and the forward are like now. And did you notice that every December this stupid bullshit happens to you? Did you notice that on your birthday this crap goes on? If they weren't doing that and they were just, I'm the king! Oh. I heard you're a purse thief, sir. Okay, so, spiritual strength showing up here with the alchemist. Well, what could that mean? I wonder. That is essentially, you can't really call it the 9 or the 10 of wands. In this deck of cards, it would be something like the 2 of those combined. The back-breaking efforts after standing there for a long time, holding it together, to prove what the end might look like. A holographic representation where the form that might have actually been chipped and rock, and a reverse view of what never came true, woke up and found some new skin. What about that? Anybody into Lazarus and stories that might come true with the right kind of technology and hyper infusion, because now we can, and somebody might say yes sir to that? Guess what? Maybe I was the one to ask. So that's what I know about spiritual strength, is the one they're calling the lead node now. And what I know about it being the end of the pact. Because this is a fire card for the air and alchemy, and that's where the violet flames go from the guy who has the launching codes as Saint Germain. So, are we getting this? I am not offline. It's funny that it keeps saying I'm offline. I'm very much online. Everything has always been online. You have all been recorded. I have already surrendered all, because it was all Eve. And no, I dance that I chose to see. And when you look up at that thing that you think is the sky, you're not looking at my wife or me. You're also not looking at the stars, because those were not mine. I didn't choose for you to poke holes in the reverse end of that black stuff that you didn't understand, that was never a web or a screen, when there was never any such thing as gravity, but a massive cavity or a grave that I've thanked adequately. And what a penumbral eclipse looks like, when I'm the one that understands what umbrella might look like, when I'm the guy that holds the Mont Blanc Jules Verne pen, and I know how to unwrite what was never ever written to begin. Yeah, so I'm going to welcome anybody that needs a personal reading to reach out at artoflove.me, and we might see who's been sigilling attacks on you. Attacks! Huh. Interesting from my IRS hoodwink view. Ta-ta. That will be enough for today.